We have Florida State traveling to Charlottesville to take on Virginia this Friday night. Yes, Friday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN. The Florida State Seminoles, a team who is just, wow, they've turned everything around since last year. We won't talk about that. Don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But this team has majorly turned things around. They're a 6.5-point favorite going in to play Virginia. And it makes you wonder why such a low spread. It opened at 7.5. Now it's at 6.5. We're going to see the line move. I know that, but Florida State has done pretty well this season, but really it's that Alabama game. And that's the reason they're getting the love. Before I dive into it, if you love college football, I hope you'll subscribe to this podcast or another college football podcast and pass along to your friends and your neighbors. Let them know someone else started another podcast. They're talking college football. The Virginia Cavaliers, they have not lived up to what I grew up watching them play. Now, as a Clemson fan, I said, watch them play, how they played. As a Clemson fan, I had to put up with the Barber twins. Yeah, that's right. Tiki and Rondé just absolutely destroying any hopes that I had as a Clemson fan that we could actually beat them. What's interesting is this Virginia team was the very first team to beat Florida State in the ACC from the time that Florida State had joined the ACC. And that is crazy. I remember when that happened. Now, I know we have to be careful saying, well, because so-and-so beat this team by this many points, and then this team beat this team by so many points, then that means that, and then you put in that little equation there, your little answer. But what's interesting is the year that Virginia beat Florida State, I think it was 1995 right off the top of my head. They're Florida State's first conference loss since joining the ACC. That year, they both beat Clemson by 19 points. Just throwing that out there. But this Virginia team is nothing like, well, they used to be. But this year, they're sitting at 3-1. They're 1-0 in the conference. They're led by Chad Morris's son, former Clemson offensive coordinator, Chandler Morris. And he's playing for former Clemson offensive coordinator, now head coach, Tony Elliott. This guy's thrown for over 1,000 yards already. He's thrown for 8 touchdowns, and they've thrown the ball a lot, and he only has 1 interception. Now, the question as we're looking into this game is exactly who has he been doing that against? Because we know what Florida State has done. I'm going to get to them in just a second. Let's talk about who Virginia has played up to this point. They played Coastal Carolina at the very beginning of the season. Coastal used to be a really good football team. Jamie Chadwell left. Grayson McCall moved on. They beat Coastal 48-7 in the first game of the year. Notice how many points they're putting up. They played at NC State, and they lost 35-31, their only loss of the season. Now, to NC State's credit, they're playing a lot better this year. I'm not saying that they're the best team in the ACC. They just they're coming off of a loss to Duke, which kind of raises eyebrows. But Virginia lost to them by 4 points. They put up 31 points against NC State. They played William and Mary. They beat them 55-16, and they played Stanford, and they scored 48 points in a 48-20 win. What are you noticing here? At least 30 points per game, and they're averaging somewhere around 40 or more. Now, why would someone be so hyped about that, knowing that you have to play Florida State? A team that really where their season kicked off was actually the game that everyone's giving them credit for and giving them this ranking, believing that Florida State is a top 10 football team right now. They're 3-0. Who have they played up to this point? Well, obviously, they beat Alabama. They didn't beat Alabama. They drug Alabama. They dominated them. They won 31-17. No one saw that coming. And they had a bye week mixed in here, so they've only played 3 games. They beat East Texas A&M 77-3, and they beat Kent State 66-10. So if you didn't have that Alabama game, would you really be all that excited? No. But they did. Coming into this game, Florida State Florida State hopes to have Squirrel White back. Squirrel White, the incredible transfer out of Tennessee, he's been banged up, and that's been a problem. Also, Castellanos had a scary moment this past week against Kent State. He ended up, kind of hopping around on one foot. He wasn't doing well, or they were kind of scared because you remember what happened to Jordan Travis. That ended a lot. But they're hoping to have Squirrel White back, and I think it was Randy Pittman was another guy that they were hoping to get back as well. Okay, so we pull all of this together, and what do we make of this game? I mean, they're a 6.5 point favorite going into Virginia, a team that compared to Alabama is not that intimidating. What should we take from this? Well, here's what I take from it. I think that Tony Elliott is going to coach his brains out. He is going to do his very best to beat Florida State. Arguably, at this point of the season, and they still have a lot to prove, Florida State is one of the best teams in the ACC. A lot of people believe that the top three for the ACC is Florida State, Miami, and Georgia Tech. And it's probably kind of in that order. Some would say Miami first, then Florida State, then Georgia Tech. But I believe that Florida State's ability to move the football, but also turn around and stop an offense is truly the difference here. Because if you look at Virginia, and I know who they've played is not overly impressive, they're scoring a lot of points. They scored 31 points in the game they lost. What really jumps out at me is that Virginia does not have a strong defense. Like, it's obvious. Their defense is not amazing. Now, could they come in and surprise Florida State? Maybe score a couple of times really quick and get the Seminoles off balance, and you're sitting there going, hold on, are they going to do it? Are they actually going to do this? Maybe so. I just don't believe in Virginia's defense. And their offense, again, who has their offense truly played? They've did the right thing. They've beat bad teams bad. But I think Florida State, their ability to move the football and to stop opposing teams has really been molded by this new coaching staff. And I see the Seminoles taking out Virginia, and I believe they cover. I believe they definitely cover here. Let's look at that again, what the spread was. Let me see. The total over-under is 59.5. I'll take 59.5. I'll take 59.5. And I believe they I'll take the over on the spread of 6.5. I just don't see Florida State winning by less than 7 points. I just don't see that. Anyway, folks, let me know what you think in the comment section. Drop me a line and let me know. Pass this around to all your Florida State friends, Virginia Cavalier friends, and anyone who loves college football.